Well, this is a bit later than I anticipated, but here we go. West Ham United 2, Arsenal 5. Did I expect a positive result from this game? Probably not. Did I expect to see the game that I witnessed? Definitely not. Anthony Taylor. Look. Let's just get this right. Without the referee's help, Arsenal would have probably beaten us anyway. So let's put that out there straight away. Without the referee's help, we would have probably lost this game anyway. But Anthony Taylor gave us the most insipid, biased referee performance that I can remember in a very long time. To say that he was biased against West Ham and biased in favour of Arsenal is putting it mildly. Their first goal was a foul on Paqueta, but he waved play on. It's amazing when you think about that, because he blew the whistle for the most innocuous of challenges throughout the whole game, and yet when Paqueta was fouled and Arsenal took possession and went on to score the first goal, nothing was said. So there's that. And then the penalty, the first one, Saka. You know, we saw what came up on the board, and apparently the VAR said there was sufficient enough contact on Saka to deem that was a penalty. I'm sorry to say, if that was sufficient contact, we were standing right behind as Saka came through. It was poor at best. It really was. But they gave the penalty, they got it, they scored, on we went. Now, let's be honest, the other two goals, or the other three goals that they scored when it went to 4-0, they carved us up. Their corner, when we know exactly what Arsenal do. You know, I talked about it in the preview, you know, about their set pieces and how we had to make sure that we didn't give them the opportunity to score goals from set pieces. And what did we do? You know, classic Arsenal, and we got caught out with a set piece corner that they scored from. And then the Trossard goal, they completely carved us up, you know, and he was unmarked on the other end of the low level cross. And they deserve to be ahead. There's no two ways about it. They deserve to be ahead, but to be ahead at 4-0, all right. Am I clutching at straws? Should it have been 4-0? Should it have been 3-0 rather than 4-0? Maybe I'm clutching at straws, I don't know. But that first penalty was awful to give. And then we got back into it. Wan-Bissaka scored a goal. Emerson scored a great goal. 4-2 with seconds to go to half-time. And then the most ridiculous of penalties given. He straight away, he was going to give that penalty. Now, you look back in all the years of football, not just Premier League football, but football per se, and you tell me how many goalkeepers would have had a penalty given against them for the challenge that Fabianski made. He went for the ball. It was definitely not deliberate, without a doubt. All right, he made contact with the player, but he went for the ball. And yet, Anthony Taylor didn't even hesitate to give Arsenal a penalty. And like at 4-2, the momentum, I mean, it took us a long time. Look, I'm going to talk about how we played in a minute. But the momentum was with us. And at 4-2, that penalty, that second penalty, completely killed the game off. Completely. Was it a penalty? I would say. And it's not just about me being West Ham biased. It's not about that. But that was a really, really weak penalty. And you look in the history of football, and you tell me how many goalkeepers would have been, would have had a penalty given against them for the challenge that Fabianski made. Unbelievable. Totally, totally unbelievable. So, you know, they got back in it 5-2. Well, got back in it. They made it 5-2, and the game was over by then. So, I mean, it's not just about the penalty decisions that Anthony Taylor made. You know, some of the challenges that were made by Arsenal, the dark arts, they got away with it. No free kicks, no yellow cards, no nothing. And yet every time West Ham players went into any of the Arsenal players, immediately, you know, free kicks were called and yellow cards were handed out and so on. And it was just like, it wasn't just about the penalties, but it's about the whole bias of Anthony Taylor and his performance. So when you're playing against 12 players, Arsenal are a good team. You know, I said in the preview about you give Arsenal space and they will create damage. You know, they don't need to play the dark arts. You know, going down every 30 seconds, you know, on a challenge. And they don't need a referee to be on their side. And again, I'll repeat, it's not about, it's not that I think that the referee won them the game, but Arsenal would have still beaten us. There's no two ways about it. But Anthony Taylor made it very easy for them. And that's what disappoints me more. Ironically, this 5-2 defeat upset me much, much more than the 6-0 defeat last season. And the reason why it upset me more is because of the referee's performance. Last season, at 6-0, we absolutely deserved to get thumped. No two ways about it. This season, this 5-2 defeat, you know, it leaves a bitter taste in the mouth. Arsenal would have probably beaten us anyway, but the manner of the defeat, you know, in the way that the referee ref that game was disgusting. Let's get on to the team performance. So, same team that went out against Newcastle. I thought, all right, you know, a winning team. You know, you keep faith in them, and so you picked exactly the same lineup as you did against Newcastle. But we looked scared. We looked like we were afraid, look, Arsenal are a much better team than Newcastle. There's no doubt about that. But we looked like we were afraid to play against them. We looked like we were scared against them, you know. And we did exactly what I said I hope we wouldn't do, and that was to afford them space and time, because the space and time we afforded them meant that they were going to crucify us, and they cut us open. You know, throughout the game, in the first half, they just cut us open, you know, because we backed off, and we didn't have any. It looked like we were scared to play against this Arsenal team, and we suffered for it. You know, the fact that we looked scared meant that we weren't putting any challenges, we weren't doing anything. All the stuff that was good about us on Monday night against Newcastle was bad today against Arsenal. Antonio didn't have a good game. No, I'll take that back. It's not just about Antonio. Not one player had a good game in a West Ham shirt. It was awful. It was pretty awful to watch. You know, and the fact that we afforded them so much space and so much time meant that they could play their game and do what Arsenal do, and they punished us. You know, as simple as that. So we did not need a referee to be as biased as he was to afford them a win. We didn't need it. But the way, you know, what gets me about Arsenal is that they're a very good team. They've got a lot of very talented footballers, and yet they've been taught to play this game where they fall over, they dive, they fall down the minute that you touch them. They're rolling around as if they've just been, you know, shot by a sniper. It's absolutely disgusting to watch, and I hate that. You know, I've grown up with teams who win games, who win leagues, who win cups, etc., who put gutsy performances in. This team, as good as they are, I hope Arsenal get absolutely nothing this season. And do you know why? Because of the way that they managed to cheat their way, the amount of time wasted, the goalkeeper, the throw-ons, the goal kicks, etc. You know, taking so much time. When they get a slight knock, they go down for about 10 minutes as if they've been sniped. It's disgusting. It's not football. It's not the football I've been brought up with anyway. Anyway, look, poor performance by West Ham without a shadow of a doubt. I couldn't understand the substitutions. At half-time, Somerville was taken off, and Alvarez was brought on, I thought to myself, why? The only reason I can give is Somerville had a yellow card, and maybe, Lopetegui took him off just in case he got another yellow card. But it completely changed the way our team was structured. Soler went out on the left. You knew straight away that we were going to have nothing in the second half to counter the 5-2 scoreline. I didn't think we were going to get back in it. But, and if there's anything that I can take from this, it was a 0-0 in the second half. But it's scant consolation. Taking Somerville off was unfair on Somerville. Bringing Alvarez on, Alvarez looked really rusty. Alvarez looked like he was completely sort of, unfit, or certainly not match fit. And it didn't make sense that you might as well just kept Somerville on because he was an outlet. He was one of our better players. And again, I've said in the preview, we could use Bowen and Somerville as our outlets in order to counter-attack Arsenal. But Arsenal had most of the ball. Arsenal had most possession. Arsenal had the better chances. We looked like we were scared. We looked like we were playing within ourselves, and we looked like we had nothing to offer. Nothing to sort of counter what Arsenal was offering. And it was upsetting, really, in a way. The other substitutions are peripheral. Didn't matter. Second half, they'd done the job. Arsenal done the job. They didn't need to try, and they certainly didn't try. 5-2, the game was over already. But this was a game of, and I'll repeat myself, it's not that the referee won them the game. They would have won the game regardless, but they didn't need a helping hand. And the referee, Anthony Taylor, is absolutely abysmal. Absolutely abysmal in this game. And when you start thinking about, games, and you start seeing how officials manage the game, you've got to start asking yourself some questions. What on earth is going on? Taylor should be investigated for that game because he gave Arsenal everything. It is what it is. Did we expect anything? Probably not. Was it after the win against Newcastle? Did we think we were going to get a result out of this? Maybe to some, they might have thought that it was a game that we could have maybe taken a point or whatever and moving forward. But this defeat was just a defeat where the margin of this defeat was disgusting, and that was because of the officials. That was because of Anthony Taylor. It was awful. But I repeat, we didn't play well enough to get anything out of this game, and that's a shame. What will happen on Tuesday? Well, Tuesday's coming around pretty quickly against Leicester. I think they lost today. I don't know. I've not seen any other results. My understanding is they were losing 3-1, so I don't know what that result was in the end. But we've got to go out there on Tuesday and we've got to start again. And this is where now you can judge Julen Lopetegui as to what's going to happen between now and the rest of this season. Because he's got Leicester, Wolves, Bournemouth, Brighton, Southampton, I don't know who else, I think that's it. These are the games now where he's got to show his mettle. And these are the games now where he's got to demonstrate that he's actually got some cohesion in this team. Because everything that we did well against Newcastle, we didn't do well against Arsenal. Why? I think we bowed down to them. I think we allowed them to dictate the game. I think we were with it. We played within ourselves. We were playing within our shells, and that was the upsetting thing. That was upsetting, and Anthony Taylor was upsetting. All right, enough of that. I'll do another reflection. Maybe I'll be a bit more coherent when I do the reflection show. So look out for that on Sunday. But a disappointing day all round.